your brain is wired for predictability and security. So your brain is going to do every single thing it can to get you out of this scary, unfamiliar reality that doesn't suit the narratives going through the mind. It's going to do everything it can to get you back to this sense of safety.
Welcome to Reclaim Your Voice, the podcast for business owners who are ready to be heard, speak on stages and podcasts, and become genuinely known for what they do. I'm Savannah Madden, confidence and speaking coach for founder-led businesses, and I help you find your voice, own your expertise, and speak in a way that attracts the right clients and opens the right doors. Here we talk about finding your voice, building the confidence to share your message, and doing the real work that gets you recognised by the people you're meant to serve. If you've got something important to say and you want the world to actually hear it, you're in the right place. This is Reclaim Your Voice. Hello and welcome back to Reclaim Your Voice. Today is a guest episode. I am so excited to be joined by the comeback story coach. So Leah helps mums in business stop playing small, challenge the subconscious patterns keeping them stuck, and build a business that transforms their family's future. The women who thrive working with Leah have one thing in common. Life has asked a lot of them, whether that's motherhood, divorce, redundancy, burnout, loss, illness, becoming a carer, or simply waking up one day and realizing that they've been surviving instead of living. They've already proved they can get through hard things. Now they're ready to build something extraordinary because of what they've been through, not in spite of it. It gives me great pleasure to say, Leah Wren, welcome to Reclaim Your Voice.
Thank you so much, Savannah. I'm so excited about sharing this time with you and your listeners today. We're going to make extraordinary things happen.
Oh, gosh, I'm so excited. Fantastic. So before we get into everything, Leah, let's just set the scene. Can you tell us more about who you are, who you work with, and what does a comeback story actually mean?
So I'll try and be precise with this because I think precision is always the best way forward. So basically, as a comeback story coach, I support mums or women in business, and I help them to make an incredible income, but at no cost to their healing and at no cost to their time with their children. So that is, for me, what a comeback story is. It's about bringing forward the lessons, bringing forward this new version of ourselves, this new identity that we've stepped into, and creating a life that we want for ourselves rather than trying to fit back into a life that we've outgrown from what we've experienced.
Love that so much. So you work with mums quite specifically. It's quite a focused niche. I know you say you work with women as well, but what brought you to want to focus so specifically with mums?
So I think it's interesting. I always answer this question slightly differently, but the more times I've answered it, the more I've realised actually it started a long time ago. So yeah, I don't exclude women. It's just, women are who I really want to work with. And the work that I do really benefits mums, people with that additional care responsibility. So it goes back to my early social work and the mental health days, like that part of my career, when I was studying or when I was researching for my master's. Something that would always come up would be the fact that women, even in modern society in the UK, women are a marginalised group, and not just women, but mothers. So mothers are less likely to be financially secure because, obviously we're trying to be lots of different versions of ourselves in many responsibilities. And although that is changing, which is amazing, mums are still holding on to that additional, let's say, burden. Our children aren't a burden, but we are holding on to that additional, the additional responsibilities that come with being a mother. We know that mums are still a marginalised group in society when it comes to accessing finances and financial security. And what happens, though, when mums like me suddenly find themselves as the only adult in the family with an income? Or again, coming from my personal journey and why I'm so motivated to support other mums, what happens when we're faced with illness in the family? Sadly, my story is that my daughter was born really unexpectedly with leukemia and sadly died at 18 months old. And I obviously, like my whole life has been shaped by becoming a version of myself who's able to hold the grief, the loss of my daughter, while also having to be the mum for my living children that I want to be, especially as a result of what I've experienced in the loss, the version of myself that needs to come forward, that I need to be present for my children, can't be stressing about income, especially as like the only adult in the family. So yeah, it's what I'm offering to the mums I'm working with is a way of saying, all right, this is hard. We're trying to deal with so much. Maybe the mums mums I've worked with have experienced mental health, physical illness, grief, and then also they're trying to build a business. But the trouble is the business strategies that we are so freely given or can so freely access don't always fit the nervous system of the person, in my case, the mother, who is also trying to heal from life-changing trauma, who's also trying to manage so much in her personal life. So basically what I do in my business container, the Wren's Nest, which I might go into like the details of why it's called the Wren's Nest later if we get time. But what we do in the Wren's Nest is we look at, right, let's not follow all the shoulds and all the rules and what we think should be happening. Let's build a business that doesn't just work for us, that allows our nervous system the space and the time to heal. And it also, oh God, allows us to have it all. So we're not just like working, but also building a business that allows us to live a wealthy life, a healthy life, where we've got time for our well-being, where we've got time for a rest, where we've got time for a sick day with our children when our children are off sick. That's what I'm trying to create for people, is just this. It's not that it's a new way of working, but it's just a new way of looking at things and trying to shape businesses that really do work for us and allow us to have financial security, regardless of all the things we've survived.
Gosh, so much to unpack there, Leah. So first of all, thank you so much for sharing with us your experience. And I'm obviously so sorry to hear about the loss of your daughter. But I
Thank you.
think it's so important for us to share these stories so that other people feel seen and supported, because no matter what traumatic or difficult experience people that you or we work with, people will always see a thread of something that resonates with them, I think. So just sharing and being so open really, really helps people to move forward as well. And I think the message that you're trying to achieve and are achieving is so important in the era that we're in right now, the time that we're living in at the moment, because the whole being able to do it all is sometimes really glamorized, and that, you know, it should be sort of like a badge of honor that you can do it all. But actually, you're looking at what's going on underneath, all the ways that we can make it personal to each person to make sure that the nervous system is supported and intact. So we're not just all like, running off, this, crazy energy, and that not every strategy is for every person, is it? Like you're saying. So what for you was the loss that you experienced, was that the catalyst or like the pivotal moment for you to start doing this work? Or was there something that happened before or a bit later that made you move into this side of things?
So I think there are a couple of moments, there are a couple of really pivotal moments. So little Maggie May, my daughter, who I mentioned earlier, she was born in 2016, so she'd be 10 this year. So it's been, a period of time in my life where lots has happened. I've learned lots of lessons, but basically right at the beginning of Maggie's life, when I thought, she was going to move through this, right up until the end, we did think that she was going to live a long, happy life and be cured. And what happened was I had my baby, like I said, completely unexpected that Maggie was poorly. I was a social worker at that point. I was on maternity leave and it was time to start going back. And I started to think, I realised that actually, no, after all we've been through as a family, I don't really want to go back into that world where I know I have to give so much of myself just to get my income. I loved my job, I loved my career, but it was just something I wasn't willing to do anymore. Like, I'd nearly lost my daughter several times. At that point when I thought she was going to be okay. I'm not going to go and give my life to an employer, basically. I wanted to build something for me and my family. I realised that actually this wasn't going to be appropriate for me. I needed a different way of bringing in income. So it was at that point that I was like, right, going to be a yoga teacher. It's something that had got me through all the really difficult days with Maggie up until that point, in terms of being the best mum I could in the hospital room with her and giving her the best opportunities I could, because obviously I was trying to be a mummy to her, but also managing like the terror of, what she was going through. And it was yoga, it was meditation, it was all those kind of ancient teachings that they were what held me through the darkest days, what I thought then were the darkest days. So I was like, right, this is what I need to do. I've walked through the fire with Maggie. I'm going to come back through the other side of the fire, holding buckets of water, as they say, for other people that are going through the same. I'm going to teach other people how they could survive what Maggie and I have survived, using these tools. So that's where it kind of, the business idea started. And then sadly, Maggie May didn't get to live. She died, as I said, just under 18 months old. And I then spent probably a good 6 to 8 years trying to be a social worker in every which way I could that didn't burn me out. But it took me a long time to realise that actually, no, there's just not this. There was a version of me before Maggie, and there's a version of me after Maggie. And this version of me that, this version that you're meeting now couldn't play small anymore and be given anything over what I had capacity to give. I knew that my precious resources, because holding grief, holding space for that journey through my grief required a lot for me. And I wanted enough energy for my living children. And also I wanted enough energy for myself, because I realised how precious life was. So it's been this kind of slow process of like, actually, no, I don't have to settle for all of this. I can create what I want for myself. And then sadly, Maggie's dad and I separated, and then I became again a single mum for the second time round. I've got an older son as well, Mason, who's 24, again is my inspiration. But I just found myself back in this same situation of like, oh, here I go again. Like, I'm skint. I have to spend all my energy on a career that is destroying me just so I could pay the bills. And it's taken away, it was just chipping away at my soul, and it was changing the availability I had for my children. I wanted to be there for my children, my living children especially. I wanted them to get the best version of me. And then that took me down my own personal experience of business strategy and business coaching. And I was like, hang on, wait a minute. This has all been leading to, it feels like it was all leading to this, like this was always going to happen, because I learned the subconscious, like archetypes and nervous system and all like the teachings from that side of things, from the yoga and my interest and my background in psychology and social work as well, like lots of understanding in terms of lifespan development and how to support people through difficult experiences, support people through change, that sort of things. It kind of felt really aligned. And I was like, yeah, like I've got this. I've been taught the business strategy myself. I get it. And I really feel that for me, the biggest learning point and what I'm desperate to share with other people, like I've kind of already mentioned, is it's not just about the strategy piece, because we can teach people how to run businesses. If our nervous system isn't ready to take on the new identity that comes with being the person that has consistent 25k months, if your nervous system can't hold on to that money, your nervous system will not let you hold on to that money. Subconsciously, things will happen in order for you to get back to your familiar comfort zone, which might be working 9 to 5 for a couple of grand a month, asking for time off, begging for sick pay, these sorts of things. And then, yes, it kind of just felt, it was very much a journey for me. It led me to, really beautiful business where I get to help women who've been through a difficult time lift themselves up and not feel like anyone's rescuing them but themselves, which I love.
And I really want to talk to you about identity because it's such a big part of what you do, and you work a lot with the subconscious. So what does it look like? You sort of alluded to it a little bit a minute ago. What sort of subconscious patterns are you seeing that are running the show in business, and what other sort of things are you seeing in your clients when they come to you first of all?
So I would say the biggest thing I'm seeing, and something I am surprised when I don't see it, when someone doesn't have like some work to do around this area, is the sense of worthiness. The women I work with find it really, really challenging initially to think, oh, I'm going to invest this time and this money in myself, in my business, and there's no guarantee that it's going to work. I'm going to give myself permission to invest this time, invest this money, and make this priority. That decision and that choice takes a lot of balls, excuse my language, but it really does. It takes a lot to be able to say, I'm worth this, my business is worth this, and my dreams are worth this. And yeah, it's a little bit different. It doesn't feel as secure as, say you've got a 9-to-5 job. It might not quite feel as secure setting up a new business. But what I've learned time and time again, and the journey I see people go on, is actually that secure job that they thought they were in doesn't really exist anymore in this day and age. Like there's not really, even teaching, for example, that used to be like the safest profession going. But actually that's changing now. We're seeing more redundancies in teaching even. And we are seeing people having to do more and more, take on more and more responsibilities in their kind of employment. So actually it's not a safe option to just stay and get the pension and stay in the same job, because in reality, when you kind of zoom out and see the big picture, it's not actually that secure. But to be brave enough and to value your dreams and this like yearning in your heart enough to say, no, do you know what? Right now, today, I'm making the decision for things to change. I'm making the decision to create this business and for this business to be my form of income. That is, I love it. I just love it. I love that moment where I like seeing that moment in people when they finally say, okay, it might be a bit tough, but I'm going to tell my husband I'm doing this, or I'm going to do this for myself. And for me personally, I had to make that decision when I was the only adult. Like I didn't know who was going to pay the mortgage each month. And because of the journey I'd been on this 10 years, I didn't have savings or anything like that. I'd just been surviving, like me and my family had just been surviving, getting through the best we could. So I was very much in this, like, the alternative feels intolerable and I'm going to do everything I can to allow space for my dream. And it feels scary and it feels exciting and it also feels magical, because as you make that decision, you suddenly start seeing all the evidence that the universe is supporting you, or even if that's just your mind finding the evidence of all the reasons why this is working. And that is beautiful. That's beautiful to watch in people. And I think that is probably the biggest thing. That self-worth piece is the most important thing for people when they're building their business. I'm worthy of this income. And then just quickly going back to the kind of, say, the consistent 25k months, if you've got a money mindset story going in your mind that 25k, for example, is too much money to be earning every month, like you're greedy, it's not sustainable, or you must be earning it in ways that is kind of scamming other people, say. If you've got these stories going through your mind, then your brain, because we're humans, is wired for predictability and security, safety. So your brain is going to do every single thing it can to get you out of this scary, unfamiliar reality that doesn't suit the mind, like the narratives going through the mind. It's going to do everything it can to get you back to safety, the sense of safety. No, come on. Since we were 4 years old, we've had the message that you get up, you go to work, you come home, you have a couple of days at the weekend, and then you're back to work again. Like that is safety, that's security, that's predictability. That's what we're going to do. Anything outside of that is dangerous. So I work a lot with people in helping them to expand that version of themselves. So we've got our dream reality that we're journaling about all the time. We know where we want to go. And then we've got our lived reality, which is like where we are right now. And then my job is to support people like understand what's the barrier between these two. Like what's the barrier between this dream life being right now the identity I am holding as a person today. Again, like I said, like the decision to not tolerate what we were tolerating before. Like that's an example of I'm now living my dream reality because I'm not tolerating going back to social work. I'm not tolerating that being my reality, that's how I get my income. I've stepped into a new identity and a new version of myself. So I work with people in this kind of like in between what is stopping them, and that's likely going to be money mindset. It's likely going to be fears of what will dad think about me, what will my family think about me, what's Auntie Mary going to think when she sees my social media post, what are my friends going to think. And also we do get that kind of, once we are up leveling and changing, we do have experience changes in the dynamics and the relationships that we have in our life, because we are changing, and there needs to be a little bit of there just is, there's a little bit of something being stirred up when we start to change. Like there's storming, norming, forming, like in terms of group psychology, like there's, once you start breaking the norms, there's a little bit of agitation in the group, because they're like, people are expecting you to behave in a certain way, expecting you to react in a certain way. You're expecting yourself to react in a certain way. And suddenly it's changing. So everyone's a bit like, where do I fit? What's going on? So that chaos or that friction is actually a really positive sign of growth and change. So hopefully I've answered your question. I feel like I might have gone around the houses a little bit, but they're the big things, like relationship changes, the identity of being that person that, you know, lives that dream life, and the money, like the mindset in terms of allowing yourself to be that person that earns big money easily.
I think so many people will resonate and relate to that. And there's something that I just really want to pick up on. It's part of sort of like the identity piece. And it's basically that thing of the, you know, the workplace, you know, the 9 to 5 kind of workplace is not built for mothers. Let's face it. And I'm very fortunate that I've never found myself in a 9 to 5 scenario being a parent. But I know from so many people that it's just not built, you know, flexibly, and to allow mums to, you know, earn what they're worth and to be able to be a present parent as well. But what I find absolutely fascinating is that in my other business, I'm also the owner of a theatre school, and I have a team of 10. Most of the people that work in my office team, actually all of my office team, are all mothers. And I've done that very strategically because mothers get stuff done. They are really good at prioritizing the most important tasks, and they are so efficient. And for me, that's really important in that particular scenario. And it just blows my mind that so many women's careers, you know, kind of stop or don't grow at the trajectory that they want them to grow in a more 9 to 5 role, because it's seen as, you know, having a career break is a negative, or having to work more flexibly is a negative. So I just find that polarity just mind-blowing, when in the more entrepreneurial world and the freelancing and self-employed world, I see it as such a positive and a benefit, you know, and that they are assets to my team. And I love working with other parents because we can all share our, you know, expertise, but also share our worries or our concerns, or, you know, we feel like we're being seen if we've got to juggle things around and whatever. So I think mums are actually the most powerful people on the planet.
We really are. We really are. And yeah, I think, and it's whether you identify as a mum, like whether you are a mum or someone who identifies as that person that's just like, you know, on it. You've got, you know exactly what everyone's doing, where everyone's at. And yeah, it's like kind of this oversight, the overseer. You know what everyone's thinking, you know what's going to happen next, you know what's going to happen in 3 days' time. But that comes at such a cost, like holding that cognitive load, and also holding the identity of, I'm someone who just gets it done, regardless if I'm exhausted, regardless if the kids slept last night, the baby was up all night, or regardless of like the stomach bug that's going through the family, all these things. I think it's great that we have this, like we are like superhuman in terms of what we can manage. But what I would really love us to start to really recognize in ourselves is when we can stop, and when we can just say, "Can that hat off? And do you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do nothing, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it, And I'm not going to sit down because I'm so exhausted I can't stand. Like, that's not the reason, because that's not resting. Like, that's just exhaustion and like collapsing. I'm going to sit down and I'm not going to do anything for an hour. Oh my goodness, I dare you to try it. Like, if you're not used to doing that, it's just like, it is mind blowing how difficult it can be. And yeah, thinking of all the things, and you get your phone out, go through your notes or write a list. Like, don't let yourself do anything like that. Don't let all these thoughts of like, oh, you need to do this at this time. And like, go and practice that. And for some of you might need to start with like 10 minutes. An hour's just going to be too long, like torture. But go and see what it's like to sit down for 10 minutes and not be that person holding it all together.
That is a challenge and a half, Leah, isn't it? Challenge accepted. Everyone should send Leah a DM after they've managed their first 5 minutes. I've managed 5 minutes. Now I'm up to 10. Yeah. Oh, goodness me. I definitely need to start taking part in that, because recently, a little bit more, I've been realizing that as soon as I've got a moment's peace, I'm thinking about the next thing. I'm like, oh, this is a great moment to start thinking about something else. I've got 5 minutes. Oh, what could I do in 5 minutes? I'm a time filler all the time. Like, oh, what could I get done in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long it is? So yeah, I'm really,
and
I'm
that's
really
going to be
bad for
the
that.
patterns that your brain. So your brain is basically, let's kind of say, addicted to that pattern, because all the neural pathways are built around that. That's just what my brain does. Right, got a little moment. Like, there's less kind of demand coming in. Like, in front of me, and your brain's like, oh, when we do this, I do this, and I'm going to give you a bit of cortisol, because you need to remember, it's got like this program that will start to run. So it's also fine just to notice, like, oh, this is what's happening right now, and you don't need to change it. You just need to be like, oh, I see what's happening. My brain spotted that I've got 2 minutes, and now it's trying to kind of fire all this stuff at me. But you can bring your logical brain in and say, but all that is going to be, there's no reason why I'm not going to remember to do that when I sit down at my desk and I've got time, or I know that you can close the loop. I know I've already written that in my, to-do list or whatever. I close the loop, go on to the next thought. That's okay. Allow that thought to come and go. And I think meditation teaches us a lot, because any kind of meditation or mindfulness will teach you that it's just noise, and that's okay. Like, your brain is going to be wanting to look for the next job. But a bit like if we were sat now, so for instance, I'm sat next to my window, and occasionally it can be really noisy on the road, but I don't notice that road noise. It just happens. My brain just like allows that noise to just not be processed. And that's exactly what we're trying to do when we are trying to rest or use mindfulness or meditation. It's not that we're trying to stop that road from moving, because those thoughts are going to be going past every minute. It's not that we're stopping it. It's just that we're zoning out. We're taking our attention somewhere else, and we're trusting that road's going to be exactly where we left it when we have the time to deal with some of those thoughts that are moving through.
That's a great analogy. It's a really good way to, well, particularly for my brain, like, I completely understand that analogy, which when I understand why something might be happening or how I could potentially move forward with it, I'm like, that's a really great way to think about it. So yeah, that's a fantastic piece of advice for that one. So I know that you've said as well about, playing it safe. Actually safe at all. We were sort of talking about, oh, maybe go back to that 9 to 5 job, sort of thing. And we have touched on it, but I just want to go a little bit deeper into what is the cost to one's family, one's lifestyle. Yeah, I'd just love to delve a little bit deeper into that. What is the cost for them if they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do and take the more, for want of a better word, safe option?
So there's two things in that. There's the kind of safety, and there is the role of the safety. When I say safety, like, it's about what is that role of the safety there that we are allowing to play out in our reality, and what is it that happens as a result of us pretending that we're fine. We're fine. Oh no, this is all right. Like, going back to me, I use myself as an example again. Like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I love social work. Oh yeah, I'm really good at it. It's fine. The cost is that my nervous system was under the most insane strain. Burnout was just part of my personality. Like, I just thought that's part of my identity. Like, oh yeah, I just get really burnt out. I cry at anything, like, all of a sudden. And that's not normal. I just thought it was normal. Just thought it was me. Oh yeah, I do get a bit emotional. No, I don't get emotional. But when I'm so exhausted that I can't function, that's one of the things I do. One of the things I do is just burst into tears. Like, I wasn't crying around clients and stuff like that. I mean, just like crying on my way to work or crying at colleagues. But that's the cost, is like pretending you're fine is your body's having to hold, like really hold the weight of living a cognitively and physically demanding life, where we are, instead of going with the flow of things, where we're just like floating down a river, we are swimming up tide all the time, like a fish trying to swim upstream. It exhausts us. It fills us with cortisol. It doesn't allow the body any chance to. So I'm trying to be really like not go in too deep with things, but basically I'll quickly explain like the parasympathetic nervous system, like rest and digest, and fight or flight. That might be something that you guys have already heard of. So fight or flight is when the nervous system's like there's a threat. And back in the day when we were living in caves and, you know, we were living a basic life, that threat would be saber-toothed tiger. So your brain is going to flood you with cortisol, with all the things it needs for you to quickly get yourself out of danger. It's going to take the blood flow away from your more logical brain, and it's just going to help you to instinctively stay safe. You know, like that startle response, if there's a loud noise and you suddenly jump, that's because you're in a state that the body knows you can just like burst into a run at any moment. So if you, for example, find yourself startled really easily, that's a really clear sign that your body's feeling quite unsafe for a reason. It senses a threat. So in the days of the saber-toothed tiger, you'd see the tiger, you'd get that blast of cortisol, you'd get the twitches in your muscles, and you'd just run. And then the running, like the left, right motion, like that's why exercise is good for us, naturally counteracts that blast of cortisol that you've just got to get you out of that situation. And then you're breathing in and out really quickly to recover. That's actually really good breath work. Like it's taking the body back into, so once the danger's gone, once you've run away from the saber-toothed tiger, you're into that breath work, that breathing, you're in a safe space. Maybe you're back in a cave and you know it's dark, it's safe, everything's going to be okay. And your body's doing all the right things for you to recover from that saber-toothed tiger fear. And now it's recovered, it's had the movement, got rid of that cortisol, and you've got some oxytocin going around your body now as you relax, and you've done the breath work, and you're in your cave, you're all safe, and you're in now what's called rest and digest, which is your body feels safe enough to sleep. That's where you're sleeping through the night. Your body feels safe enough to digest your food fully, not just kind of like try and get it out of the way as quick as possible, because a lot of the time in fight or flight, our body wants us away from that saber-toothed tiger. So you might get a funny tummy, you might get loose stools, you might feel sick, nauseous. That's because your body wants to get everything out, like purge, so you can run away from this saber-toothed tiger. But in our world, it's not a saber-toothed tiger. It's the worry about what people will think about us, or what our boss is going to say in 2 weeks' time or tomorrow, or like they're not real threats. And we don't use the body in the same way we would in the original environment. Like we don't run away from our boss. Well, some of us don't. We don't, we're not kind of doing the things we need to do to allow the body the chance to process that difficult, scary experience and then slip back into rest and digest from this saber-toothed tiger, say. Our body, if it hasn't got the opportunity to go back into the rest and digest, is going to be exhausted. You're not going to be digesting food properly. Your immune system's going to be impacted. And there is real clear evidence to say that people that are under a lot of stress, their immune system's shot. So you're going to get more illnesses. There are very clear links between some cancers, some heart like illnesses and strokes, all these things. Like there's lots of cold hard evidence to say that being under too much stress does impact the body's physical health, and it could, take a lot of years off your life. So basically, by holding and pretending that I'm fine in this life, I'm fine, this is, it's not who I want to be, but I'm just going to keep pushing through. If we keep like holding, like crushing ourselves, crushing our dreams to allow ourselves to tolerate a life that we don't want and that we're not enjoying, like it is going to take years off our life. We are probably going to be more snappy. We are not going to be able to sleep as well. We're not going to be digesting food and nourishment and digesting experiences and enjoying the moment are like the precious moments in life, because we are just like restricting and containing and doing all we can to hold things together. So I would say that's the cost. That's the cost of like pretending you're okay with not living your life's purpose. And in the yoga and spiritual traditions, you might have heard of karma. There's also dharma, which is your life's purpose. And they say that the souls, like, depends what your belief, if your beliefs aren't aligned with this, you know, you don't have to believe it. I believe that our souls make a choice when we come down here, and we decide to fulfill our role as a person, fulfill our lesson, and fulfill our role as a member of society. Like, we have this purpose to fulfill. And if we don't fulfill that purpose, we just like crushing and pretending. And if that doesn't feel right for you, if that's not your belief, just think of it as your dream. Like, everyone has this unique set of DNA, this unique personality, this unique physical experience that makes them perfect or makes them light up in certain situations. Like, we only get one shot at life. Like, why shouldn't we allow ourselves to be the fullest expression of our joy that we possibly can? So I think the cost of ignoring all that, personally, I think it's huge, not just because you don't get to enjoy being that version of yourself, but also because of the physical impact it has on the body. And then going back to the other thing I said I'd kind of talk about, like in terms of safety, I'm just going to go full on with my business, is we try and find like a little like safe way to build our business. Or we'll keep the income, we'll keep the job, we'll try and keep everything the same for the family because the kids are used to getting those trainers, or the husband's used to sharing the bills in this way, or, you know, whatever it might be. I'll try and just kind of keep all that and then do the business as well. I'll try not to cause too much of a fuss. Stay up a bit later, or I'll get up a bit earlier. So yeah, I think playing small and making your business play small is not as safe.
Thank you so much. I could listen to you speak about that all day, Leah. That was just so interesting. So I always like to ask every guest this because, as you know, this podcast is called Reclaim Your Voice.
Mm-hmm.
What does reclaiming your voice look like to you at the moment?
So surprisingly, I thought my answer was going to be different to this, but actually surprisingly what's coming up for me is the reclaiming your voice for the women or the people, like the experiences I've just kind of spoken through. Reclaiming your voice isn't about your voice being a reaction to something, only having your voice when you are fulfilling a role, when there's no other expectation on you, when it's like a really like authentic, this is me, this is what I want to do now. No, I don't actually, because there'll be a million reasons why you could do that, but actually that one reason that we need to listen to is that voice saying, yeah, but I really want to do this today. And I don't want to fulfill anybody else's needs. I fancy fulfilling my own needs. And I think that is where reclaiming your voice comes from. For a lot of your life, you will suddenly realize that your voice has never been your own. Your voice has just been performing. You've just been like saying what you think you should say at a certain point, how you think you should say it. And none of that sound that you take up or kind of share with the world is coming from a real connection with your true desire and your inner truth.
I think so many people will resonate with that. I certainly did, of where, you know, you do sometimes say yes to things because sometimes you think it just might be a little bit easier, but actually the right thing to do is to preserve your own energies and you can always say no with kindness. It's really that simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Leah. Where can we find you? Where can we connect with you? Where are you hanging out?
So the best place to find me is Instagram. It seems to be the place I hang out the most. So my tagline is Comeback Story Coach Leah Wren. And then there's also my website, Leah Wren. So Wren with a W, leahwren.com. And you'll find my latest offers and things there.
Fantastic. And we'll link all of that up in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'll speak to you very soon.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening to this episode of Reclaim Your Voice. If today's conversation resonated, head to the show notes where you'll find my free audio gifts. And if this episode helped you in any way, it would mean so much if you shared it, rated or reviewed the show. That support helps these conversations reach the people who really need them. You can also watch the full episode over on our YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next one.